but you got a big booty.
Oh.
Big booty, but you got a big booty.
Big booty, what you got a big booty. Big booty, what you got a big booty. Welcome to the Cap, episode 19. It's 19, right, Jason?
19.
The song you just heard was Booty by Jennifer Lopez and Iggy Azalea. Jason, I saw this video that was released yesterday, and I was like, OMG. What can I say about this video on the Cap? Because here's the thing, is they've been teasing this video for weeks. There have been these little mini trailers that'd be like 15, 20-second increments of oiled-up booties and leotards, one black, one white. And we can now point out the full video has been released as of yesterday. And I just have to say, song kind of catchy. Video might be booty overkill.
I think so.
I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, guys, sure, there's butt guys, there's breast guys. Got some guys like just idealize the booty, but when it's 3 minutes straight of booty, it's like, I don't know. It just seemed like too much of a good thing, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and it's pretty much zoomed up on there the whole time.
Yeah, it is. And Gawker pointed out that Iggy Azalea actually had bronzer that was all over her white leotard. So they didn't clean her up prior to making the video. And if you look closely during scenes in the video, you know, she's shaking the booty around, and it's like all of a sudden you see like a dirty spot on her outfit. And it's like, well, that's kind of not so appealing, but,
right.
You know. So it's just crazy because there are artists who tend to pick up on trends late. And it seems like the ones who pick up on the trends late are the ones who are not, they're not trendsetters, but they're trend followers. And I'm not saying that they don't do it well, but I'm saying that it's usually on the tail end of a certain trend. And booty has been big for like the last year, right? Or last couple years. And I'm not saying that it ever really like went away. You know, so for you Meghan Trainor fans out there, when she says, I'm bringing booty back, I'm not really sure that it ever left, but it seems like people are maybe, I guess what I'm saying is when it gets to be too much, it's like you're pretty much on the decline end. You remember when Britney Spears came out with this song, When the World Ends, and it had this kind of like techno vibe,
right.
oh, and then everybody had this like techno vibe, this club fist pump type of vibe, like in their music, in pop music. And then sometime later, 98 Degrees decided to put together a reunion album, and the Backstreet Boys put out a new album. And in both instances, they were using that techno fist pump kind of sound. So these groups that are no longer nearly as popular, probably sell a fraction of the records to a hardcore fan base, were trying to get on a trend that would maybe reinvent them or make them relevant. And instead, it ended up being kind of like, the dad from Modern Family. Like in the first episode, he talks about, I know all the dances to High School Musical. And
right.
He's doing the dances in front of his daughters, and they're just giving him the stink eye.
Yeah.
You know? It's like the old person that's trying to be cool. So Jennifer Lopez at 46 puts out this video called Booty, because she sees people like booty, and guess what? She's got a big one. Iggy Azalea, also a current star that's got a big booty. I'm not saying she's past her prime, and I'm not really saying J-Lo's past her prime, but I don't know. They just like push the envelope too far. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, I don't think so at all. I guess what I would add is the music itself, it's not my style.
Yeah.
And for me, when I'm checking out women, I tend to start at the top and go down.
Yeah.
So by the time I get to the booty, I've seen everything I want to see.
Yeah.
And so it just seems out of place for me personally for that video to start there.
To start at the booty?
Right.
It's like starting work on a Wednesday.
Right.
You know? Because the booty, in terms of the length of the body, it's like hump day, right?
Right.
Yeah. Hey, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is?
Hump day!
Whoop, whoop. Oh, man. And so, and another thing I realized, too, is it's not just the older stars that do it, but when the Disney stars start to do it, who are supposed to be the trendsetters, but maybe like the really young ones and not the ones that are at that trendy age yet, so the
right.
preteen group, then it seems a little bit weird, too. This goes in a different direction. Indie music. So like Ingrid Michaelson, Feist, and all those women who were really popular about 5 years ago. And they still make music, and they still make good music, in my opinion. So yesterday, Sabrina Carpenter, who's like one of the Girl Meets World stars, released her first or second single. And I went to listen to it, and it was that singer-songwriter, quirky ukulele type anthem that sounded like something Ingrid Michaelson would have done 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I just thought to myself, like, if this is Ingrid Michaelson light, then the indie singer-songwriter trend maybe is on its last leg.
Okay.
You know? So, I mean, unless the Backstreet Boys in 5 years decide to make a Ingrid Michaelson record, you know, which they very well may, I think that might be the tail end of that trend.
Right.
But how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, doing good. That was like a long way to intro, but I figured if we're going to start the show with that song, and when you watched it, the funniest comments that I heard from you as you were watching it to get prepped for the show were, is she rubbing on an egg?
For some reason, she had like this egg in her hand. Just like, what is that about?
She's making the correlation. Nothing turns a man on like protein, right? That's why we like steak and eggs. And booty, apparently. So, you know, and then the other comment that I heard you make was at the beginning when it was just the booty sample, you got a big booty, like I started the show out with, you were like, is this all the song says? Because it really does. It goes on for like the first minute of the song is just all this sample and this beat. So people will definitely dance to that song. I am going to go ahead and make a prediction that that song is going to be a radio hit.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not to say that that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think pop music probably has lower standards than it used to, and
yeah,
you know, whatever.
I've discovered that there's current music out there that I like that doesn't get a lot of radio airtime around here. So,
right,
you know,
yep. Well, and because they don't market to us, right? They
right.
market to teenagers and 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds. Probably kids that are too young to listen to the music that they put on the radio, but
right,
you know, it is what it is. Other news in the week. There was an article that we came across on Facebook that was kind of funny. Do you want to start with that article? It was a 911 call, right?
Yeah, it was a strange 911 call. A man's been accused of calling 911 to complain about not having a refrigerator.
Pardon me, police. I don't have a refrigerator. It's the opposite of the prank call, is your refrigerator running?
Right.
I don't have one.
Yeah, he's been accused of calling 911 8 times in 2 hours to complain that he had food but no refrigerator. And apparently his landlord, he was moving into a new place, and his landlord was supposed to have one in, and there wasn't one there. And so the police were like, well, you know, you can't call 911 over this. He goes,
right.
Well, this is the only number my phone will dial.
Oh, because he didn't have any minutes left.
Apparently not.
Oh, man, that's crazy. So his phone wasn't necessarily activated, but all cell phones will allow you to dial 911.
Yeah, you can dial 911 from any cell phone, even
Yeah.
if it's not been activated. And
yeah.
apparently that was his only option.
So you said 8 times?
8 times in 2 hours.
In 2 hours. First of all, what in the heck? Second of all, so he's got food and no refrigerator. I can see how that would be frustrating.
Right.
But what on earth would drive a man to believe that this is something 911 worthy?
Well, I mean, and even if the police came out and arrested the landlord, wouldn't just that slow down the whole process of getting a refrigerator in there?
Yeah, but his motive is so like, all right, well, I'm going to tell the police and they're going to come arrest you, and that's just like you're right. It's not a way to solve problems.
Right. You know, I try to stay on a good relationship with my landlord, so
right.
for me to call 911,
Yeah.
there'd have to be something seriously wrong.
Yeah, what kind of things are you going to see in this guy's rental history
Right.
when he tries to get his next apartment or his next rental house?
Yeah. Well, I called 911 because they didn't give me a refrigerator.
You know, if he knew that the refrigerator wasn't there yet, he should have maybe purchased food that didn't need to be refrigerated.
Right.
I'm sure there's some things that he could have bought. Some bread and some peanut butter.
Yeah.
You know, he would have been all right. But this guy probably, would you say, deserves the honorable mention? The Dunce Cap Award?
I think I may have one even worse.
Really?
I may have one even worse.
Okay. Well, tell me what you put together.
Well, I did some research, and I came up with a list of other strange 911 calls, and some of these are strange reasons to call 911, and some of these are legitimate reasons that when the police got there, it turned out to be something crazy. It wasn't what people thought it was at all.
Okay.
I'm going to start with one that we've actually discussed before, but it didn't make it on the air because there were some technical problems, so the show never made it to the internet.
The lost episode.
The lost episode.
Yep.
A woman called 911 because Subway put marinara sauce on her pizza instead of pizza sauce.
Now, we didn't get to discuss this before because of what we did, but it was the lost episode. So this was kind of a ridiculous situation because we discussed the difference between, pizza sauce and marinara sauce?
Between pizza sauce and marinara sauce.
It's pretty thin line.
Yeah, basically, I think the difference is marinara sauce would already be cooked. Pizza sauce is essentially cooked on the pizza.
Right.
Which seems to be a very marginal difference.
Yeah, very marginal. So, is she the one that you were talking about? The big...
I'm saving my dunce cap for the very end.
That's the end. That's the capper. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Subway puts marinara sauce on this woman's pizza, which I'm still against Subway making pizzas, by the way.
Right. And I will admit, their marinara sauce is terrible.
Yeah.
It's awful.
You know what? Since we're bringing up how bad it is that Subway is making pizzas, have you seen Burger King's Black Burger?
I did see an article on that.
That looks disgusting.
I know.
I don't know why they would think that that's a good idea and why they would think anybody would want to eat it. And I read that it's made with like the black coloring is made with like bamboo.
Yeah, nothing about it
some
sounded
other
appealing.
nastiness.
Yeah.
Anyway, like Burger King, what WTF, man? I was almost going to spell those words out.
Yeah, I think it was marketed in Asia or somewhere, and I don't know, different cultures, eat different things. But
I just thought Americans ate the worst.
Yeah,
which is why we have the obesity epidemic and all that. It's going to go in the way of green ketchup, I think,
right,
or pink ketchup, or whatever they did there in the 90s for a moment.
A woman in Rockingham County, New Hampshire, called 911 to report that she had a dream that President Obama was in danger, and then hung up the phone.
That is going to get the NSA sent to her house and Homeland Security and everybody else.
Yeah, the people in the black vans show up.
Yes, yes. That woman she's now a suspected terrorist.
Didn't say what kind of danger, just said, I had a dream he was in danger, and went on about her day.
I once had a dream that Kim Jong-il, then president of North Korea, or dictator, or however you want to put him, was implementing a military strike against the U.S. over a long period of time, where he was taking unwanted children and buying them for large sums of money and raising them up to be North Korean soldiers so that he could strike on America using its own people against it, and he was calling it Operation Pawn Spawn.
You should have called 911.
So but I wouldn't have called 911 because I suspect that I'm probably already on a watch list somewhere, just for being like libertarian-minded, limited government-minded politically.
Right.
And that between that and being Hispanic, I assume that I'm just on a watch list somewhere.
Right.
Being born in Texas matters not. I shall be deported to the Commonwealth at some point. but I just don't think I could have done it for that.
And then the next one on the list, ironically also in Rockingham County, New Hampshire, a man called 911 and requested an ambulance, even though he was already in the waiting room of the hospital.
Where was he planning on taking it?
I don't know. Maybe he thought they could get him to another hospital that would work faster.
Think so, yeah.
I have no idea.
It's like when you call a cab in advance, you're like, I'm going to be drunk, but I'm going to leave in about 30 minutes, so I'm going to call and make the appointment before I'm blacked out.
Right.
He's like, all right, maybe they'll give me a ride home since they brought me here.
I mean, maybe they just wheel him in and wheel him right back out. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they should exchange the siren sound from woo, woo, woo to cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo.
There you go. The next one on the list, this one kind of bothers me that the police would even respond to this.
Yep.
But I also get why the guy's really stupid.
Okay.
A man in Willowbrook, Illinois, called 911 because, quote, he wanted to see an officer because he wanted to fight.
He wanted to fight the officer?
Yeah. Any police officer. And so, sure enough, police showed up.
What?
He started pushing and shoving, and he got arrested. And
wow.
And the charges against him were aggravated battery, resisting a police officer, and battery with intent to provoke. My problem with those charges is if the police stay away,
Yeah.
None of that happens.
Yeah. If it was just like, well, I'm not going to fight you, sir, so goodbye.
Right.
Hang up the phone. You wouldn't have had a cop to fight. Yeah, that seems a little bit like the police were provoking or instigating,
Right.
putting themselves in a bad situation.
Right.
Interesting.
So, I mean,
Bad cops.
kind of shared stupidity there, I think.
You know, real quick, interjection. It's funny the way that cops see things versus the way that people see things. You know, we see all the stories about, like, Ferguson and, any situation where there's, like, police abuse, and it seems like they're all over the place nowadays, these news stories. And you get to thinking, like, cops abuse authority, like, all the time, right? Well, I was with the Elkhart County Sheriff the other day, and Elkhart County is a county in northwest Indiana. And so I was with the sheriff, and he had just purchased a new knife. And he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's a good cop. He's like one of those, you never would expect him to abuse any authority or anything like that. But he's showing me this awesome knife that he just invested in. And I'm holding it, and I'm like flipping the switch on it and stuff. And I'm like, man, this is sweet. And I look at him, and without even thinking about who I'm talking to, I'm like, can you imagine if a bad cop got a hold of this? What kind of things they could do? And then I realize, oh, wait, I'm talking to a cop. Like, he's not going to acknowledge that there's bad cops, right?
Right.
And he's like, oh, yeah, that'd be awful. Or, a bad guy. And so he went ahead and acknowledged that there's bad cops, but also reminded me that there's bad civilians as well. So, I don't know. I thought that was kind of a cool interaction.
Well, and it used to be a trend in police office. A cop once told me that they were trained, in fight. When they get into a fight, they were trained in ways to end it quickly. So there wasn't like excessive force and things like that. And there used to be a movement, for like beanbags instead of bullets.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing more, used military equipment. We're kind of going the other direction now.
Yeah.
But
ran him over with a Humvee, and I have to point out, because it might have picked up on the microphone, there's a random air freshener in here today, and it just shot out some things. It sounded, I don't know, it sounds funny, but it smells delicious.
Okay. And then a woman in England once called the emergency number and asked, "Is it still Christmas?"
Is it? Wait, what? She wakes up in a coma after 3 months past December, and so in March she realizes her Christmas tree's still up, and is it still Christmas?
Yeah, she called and just started like chit-chatting, and it was like, "How are you? Is it still Christmas?" Or like, the actual response was, "No, it's Boxing Day." I don't really know what Boxing Day is.
Boxing Day.
I don't really know what that is since I'm American. But,
yeah. But when you said the emergency number, so did they not use 911?
I don't know that they use 911 in England. They might, but
Okay.
she did call the emergency number. It wasn't like
Okay.
she just called police. But,
Okay.
But and then a woman in Norwood, Massachusetts, called 911 because her teenage son refused to rake the leaves. Now, I'll say this: if my parents had done that kind of thing, I'd be a victim of the 3 strikes law.
This is actually a sad one. So, because I worked in social services for 7 years, and I'll tell you what, there are parents who they'll seem cool, and then they will call the authorities over the most minute things. It's like people want so badly to control their kids, not to teach their kids to cooperate and to get along and to do things for the right reasons, but to control and to dominate. And in those instances where kids, because it's just not in human nature to be ruled, they choose to say no, or they don't want to do what they're being told to do at that particular time, they call the cops. And that's just one of those situations where it's like, stupid parent, quit trying to be your kid's dictator.
Yeah.
I don't know. My opinion.
Okay. And then a woman in Aloha, Oregon. Some police were sent to her house on a noise complaint.
Okay.
After the police left, she called 911 and said, "Those officers were kind of cute. Could you send them back over here?"
Oh, no.
And, of course, they went back,
What?
saw there was no emergency, and she was charged with abuse of 911.
Who is this dispatcher?
That I don't know.
I think they were intrigued by the idea that this woman thought they were attractive, and they were like, well, we were dealing with the situation. I don't really remember if she was attractive. So let's go back and see if she was hot, and if this is something we want to take advantage of, and if
Right.
she's not, then we'll just leave and say there wasn't an emergency. That I mean, it's rational, kind of, but at the same time, wasted taxpayer dollars.
Yep. And then a Florida woman called 911 because McDonald's was out of McNuggets and would not give her a refund.
Frustrating situation. Don't you hate when you go somewhere and they're out of whatever you need?
Yes.
I keep seeing the commercial for this Sonic cheesy chicken pub sandwich or, whatever.
Yeah.
Annoying commercial, by the way. But I'm like, man, that sandwich looks great. Go there to get one, and they're out of the ciabatta rolls that they put the... And I'm like, what's the point in buying one?
But again, when we start calling 911 because McDonald's gets an order wrong...
It's a little overkill.
That's a dangerous place.
Yeah, yeah. That's a little bit overkill. But, in the same spirit of that situation, let's give those guys $15 an hour.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, they get orders wrong all the time, but we'll give them double their money.
I think we should make McDonald's workers work for tips.
Yeah.
And just show them how lucky they are.
Yeah.
A woman in Germany called police because her husband would not stop watching porn. And the police responded to this call and basically said, well, there's nothing we can do, but they did refer her to counseling.
Really?
Yeah.
They didn't say, we brought beer and Doritos. Can we watch too?
It didn't say how long they stuck around.
Yeah. Aye.
And then in Regina, Canada.
I don't like where this is going already.
Police were called to respond to a fire at the football stadium in town. When they got there was no fire. It was just an image on the video screen.
So it was like one of those DVDs with the roaring fire?
Yeah, except it was apparently like on the giant Jumbotron at the stadium.
Wow.
Somebody saw it, called the fire department.
Not to be punny, but I bet they were hot.
A woman in Georgia called 911 to report that her van was missing. Seems perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
She called back a few hours later and said, oh, I found it. It was behind some weeds in my yard.
Man, those must have been really tall weeds.
Yeah, because her van was missing.
Yeah. Jeez. Is it Jumanji?
Yeah. Another one in England, a man called to report a UFO. Called back before police even got there and said, my bad. It was just the moon.
The moon.
The moon.
Whoa. So he was on drugs.
It came down really quick.
Yeah. He was definitely on drugs, I would say. Don't do acid.
This one, I think, is my dunce cap winner. This is my last one.
Okay, we're going to put the drum roll in right here.
A man in Romania called police to report a strange noise in the house. The problem was the house he was in was the house he was robbing. He was a burglar, and he called the police.
What?
And when the police got there, they arrested him and found out that the noise he heard was just the cat.
Isn't the last Dunce Cap award that we gave out to, didn't it go to somebody who was robbing a house and left his jacket and left his Facebook profile
He left his
up?
jacket and his Facebook page up.
So now we're giving the Dunce Cap award to another dumb criminal.
He called police during the burglary and gave him the address.
Whoa. So this is becoming a trend then on the cap. There are some dumb criminals out there, and you're all deserving of the Dunce Cap. Maybe someday we'll have enough of them to form our own cap cell in the local prisons.
Yes.
So with all those dumb criminal stories and all those people that were making 911 calls for the wrong reasons, I am just befuddled. And do you have any comments amidst my mental speechlessness? Obviously not verbal speechlessness, but before we tip the cap for the week.
No, I think we're good.
I think we all need a moment to digest that.
Yes.
That list that you put together. Mm-hmm. Thanks for putting that together, by the way. That's Jason. You guys don't understand. If Jason didn't do the research for this show, we might not have any material. So, cap to Jason.
Thank you.
And also, I'm going to tip the cap this week to Kaylee Cuoco. I don't know if I ever tipped the cap to her, but since we talked about the fappening last week, she was on Jimmy Kimmel a few nights ago talking about her response to her picture being released. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, she seemed like she kind of took it like a pro. So, you know, I mean, she She obviously admitted they were real, but then she put a picture on Instagram with this app called Nudify that's only available on iPhones because I checked for Android. But basically it just blurs out whatever spots on your body you want it to blur out. So she had a picture of herself in a bikini on the beach, and apparently her and all of the Big Bang Theory castmates like searched through her photos for the best picture that she could use to get back at these people. Mm-hmm. And selected this picture of her and her husband walking down the beach, and then blocked out her top and bottom from her bikini with these like blurs to make it look like she was walking down the beach nude. And that was like her response to the people who had released the nude photos. You know, I don't really get the joke per se, but it was funny that she tried, and I liked that she was like, the first thing I did was called my family and notified them, and I was like, just so you know, this is out there. And so she tried to come at it from a mature place, but she understands like her position in the world as a celebrity and like the kind of things that are going to happen along the way if she stays in the limelight and all that. So I thought she was really mature about it, I guess is what I'm saying. Good for her, and I tip the cap to her. Okay. Even though you're a Big Bang hater.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'm going to tip my cap to, he's a former NFL player, and the NFL's been making a lot of headlines for the wrong reasons lately.
Yes.
His name's, I'm going to try his name, Maki Kimawatsu. It's like a South Pacific name. He actually retired from the NFL for the sole purpose of donating a kidney to his brother.
Huh.
And I thought that was a really cool move.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are good guys in the NFL. They're not all wife beaters and child abusers.
Yeah, it's funny how when we do look for villains and we look for people to demonize, and unfortunately, I mean, those people, when you call someone like the face of a company or the face of an organization, you are representing the organization that you represent. So I would say that starts from the leadership and works its way down, and it sounds like they've got some house cleaning to do if they want to maintain a good face. So, good luck to the NFL. Yep. I did hear a funny joke last night. Somebody passed along a message, and it was like talking about the NFL and the NBA, and then it gave all these statistics on like how many people had been arrested for domestic abuse, writing bad checks, going to prison, and it named like this big laundry list of crimes, but it didn't say specific names or which organization, the NFL or the NBA, right? So you get like 15 things that they've done wrong, but different numbers of how many people have done these things. And then it asks at the question, which organization did this? And you're like, you assume because the NFL has been the one that's been talked about so much lately that it's going to be the NBA,
right? Because
they haven't been talked about so much lately. And then it turns out it's neither. It's United States Congress.
Right.
And you're like, holy cow. Like, it was just mic dropped at that point, So, yeah, it's all about perspective.
Right.
Yeah. And with that, the Culture and Arts Podcast, episode 19, tips the cap to you from me and Jason. See you next week.
It always works for me. Dakota to Decatur.